What is going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be talking about who I think deserves to be in those number one contender fights. We have a lot of divisions who are kind of up in arms right now. We don't really know who is going to be fighting next for that belt. So we're going to go division by division talking about who deserves what spot. And coming in at the flyweight division, we got Van versus Pantoja. There's no number one contender fight to make here. Pantoja is obviously the guy that's next up. I think that's kind of obvious in my opinion. I think Pantoja defended his belt. I know Pantoja defended his belt 4 times, and I think him against Joshua Van is a really favorable matchup for Joshua Van, honestly. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about which fights deserve to be made, and Pantoja has absolutely earned the right to fight again for the undisputed gold in the flyweight division. The question is, who fights the winner of this fight? So I think we're going to see that this fight take place sometime in like November timeframe, right? That gives Van enough time to heal up. That's about 6 months after his fight. So after about 6 months, this is kind of what we're looking at. We have a Kavanaugh versus Royval fight coming up. Who honestly, I know this might sound crazy, if the layoff weren't so long after the Conor McGregor pay per view, and I'm expecting that next flyweight again, that next flyweight belt to be beating up for grabs in probably May, right? I'm just saying on a 6 month timeline, right? So Kavanaugh versus Royval, the winner of that fight, I think that winner of that fight could be fighting for the belt. I know a lot of people would be saying it's Horiguchi versus Kopp, but I don't know. I really liked what I saw out of Kavanaugh and Royval. Obviously, a staple in the top of the division. I think Kavanaugh right now, honestly, deservingly should be ranked pretty high up. I personally have him number 2 in my top 5 if we were doing real rankings. I just think if you look at like the guys, he was able to beat Brandon Royval in Mexico, which I think is one of the best wins. It's really, I mean, I know the only other person that's really beat freaking Royval like that is Pantoja, Royval, and Tatsuro Taira. So it's like, if we're looking, those are the top of the division, guys. So it's like, Tatsuro Taira is obviously a top 4 guy in the division. Royval, I know he got slammed out by Kopp, but Kopp's got to do a lot more for me. I mean, he keeps on having these long bouts of inactivity. He pulls out of all of these fights. I don't know why he should be rewarded with the title shot, even if he beats Horiguchi. What has Horiguchi honestly done in the sport? Like, I know he's on a 2-fight winning streak right now, but we can't be serious about him fighting for a belt. I think he has to win both. I think both these guys have to win 2 more fights. Okay, and the same thing with Kavanaugh versus Royval. Okay, I think the winner of that fight really needs another win. Okay, coming up next, we have the bantamweight division, and this is going to be Piotr Jan versus Merab. Okay, I think it's obvious that this is kind of next up for the belt. That's kind of how everyone's making it seem. I don't think that anything else is going to transpire. I don't think if O'Malley gets a spinning heel kick knockout, you know, I think that it will obviously still be Jan and Merab taking place, and I think that's probably going to go down sometime August, September timeframe. You know, which is kind of thinking, is the winner of the O'Malley Zahabi fight and the winner of the Umar Martinez fight, is that enough time? Is that enough time to really not make them take another fight? Like, should O'Malley have to take another fight in the meantime, right? But this is also assuming, by the way, it's not spoiling my pick, but I actually think the number one contender fight is O'Malley versus Zahabi, okay? But if Merab wins, like, okay, so if Jan wins, this is the number one contender fight. I'm assuming Zahabi loses, right? Because if Zahabi, I think, wins, he undoubtedly deserves the next crack at the belt. Okay, I don't think he should have to fight another person. This is 2 fresh matchups, right? But Jan versus O'Malley, everyone wants to see that for the belt. I'm right there with you. But Merab versus Malley, 2 doesn't sound interesting to me, at least. And then Umar's kind of taken out of the title picture here. I think it's just kind of a tough break for him, right? You know, I think O'Malley deserves that shot a little more, I guess. I mean, Umar's beat Bautista and Figgy, and I would say one Yadong win is better than both of those. You know, yeah, so it's kind of hard for me to say that, yeah, Umar's really deserving. In a Martinez fight, does that move the needle for me? Not really, that Umar deserves a shot at the belt. But I think Jan is going to fight Merab next, and if he makes that one out alive, which I'm not super confident he does. I mean, this is a long layoff from Merab. I'm gonna probably take Jan to win, but I'm just saying it's very possible that Jan goes out there and doesn't keep his belt. So I'm assuming that the next number one contender fight is O'Malley versus Hobby, which is this weekend, which is really exciting. Going on to the featherweight belt, we got Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev. I think that's obviously the fight to make. I don't think Movsar has to win another fight. I think it's the next fight to be made. I think everyone could agree on this, that this is the next fight to be made. It's not going to be Gene Silva. It's looking like this is the fight. This is the fight. Now we got to talk about who fights whenever they fight, whoever wins this fight, who are they going to fight next? Okay, I don't think Volk retires after this. I think he still has a couple more good fights left in him. And that this is kind of what I got cooking. So I got Lopez versus Garcia. Okay, I think that whoever wins that fight doesn't necessarily immediately earn a crack at the belt. And again, if Volkanovski wins this, no matter what, I do not want to see a Volkanovski versus Lopez 3, but just kind of for the idea here, Lopez and Garcia, the winner of that against Aljo. I don't think Aljo has to win another fight. I think he has earned the right to fight in a true number one contender fight. I'm kind of taking Gene Silva out of the title picture for now. I'm kind of taking Yair, obviously, out of the title picture. I think that they both have to get 2 wins, right? I think Silva versus Yair is a fight to make. I think that there's other fights to be made at featherweight. I think maybe you could do Silva versus Lerone, right? Like, I think Silva still has to earn his way up. He really only has one solid win at 145. So to say that he immediately should be in the title picture, even coming off of a loss against Lopez, I think that's a bit much. So I think he's going to have to win. He's going to have to win a couple fights, probably 1 or 2 more before I start taking him serious inside the title picture at 145. Coming up next in the lightweight division, we already have a title picture set. We have Topuria versus Gaethje. Now we're saying who should the winner fight. And the winner should fight the winner of this fight that's yet to be announced, which is Oliveira versus Arman. It sounds like Arman said that he's probably going to fight for championship belt in October, or no, I think he said September. Yeah, so that's going to be Oliveira versus Arman, and it is a number one contenders fight. This is I don't want to see Oliveira fight Ilya. Like, I think that doesn't really need to happen again. We saw what we needed to see. So that's the only way that this wouldn't technically be a number one contenders fight. And then I think if Oliveira and Topuria both win, I think that would fall to BSD versus Patty for the next fight to make then at 155. Whoever wins that should fight Topuria, which I guess I'm open to too. But yeah, that's the only combination of a fight that I wouldn't want to see, which would be Topuria and Oliveira. But all the other combinations, like Arman, Ilya, Gaethje, bro, what the hell? But no, Topuria against the winner of this fight more than likely should be fighting for the belt. Going on to 170 now, we have the winner of Islam versus Gary against Prates. I'm going to be honest, y'all. If this Gary versus Islam fight doesn't get signed soon, I'm going to start hopping on the bandwagon that Prates deserves a shot now. Prates deserves it now, man. It's like he looked super. He beat the former champion, JDM. That's a guy that Ian Gary, Ian Gary's got good wins. Don't get me wrong. Ian Gary's got good wins. But if we want, I feel like we're heading towards more of an entertainment sport. And I think that Prates has honestly stolen the number one contendership right out of Ian Gary. So unless this fight gets signed in like the next 3 weeks, like before the end of the month, if this doesn't get signed before the end of the month, I think it should just move on to Prates. I think Prates versus Islam would be the fight to make, just because that Prates truly beat the number one contender coming out, which was JDM. Like, Bilal lost to JDM, and then I think that Prates, because of that JDM win and how good he looked, and we know that version of himself against Ian Gary wasn't the best version. I think it's almost time that he hops Gary, which I know is crazy to say. He's got the head-to-head win against Gary, but how good he looked in that fight, how good he looked against JDM. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that yet. I still think Gary deserves it. Don't get me wrong, but we're heading towards a time where I don't know if I'm going to keep saying that. So, and I don't think that Prates has to get another win. Okay, I don't think Prates has to go out there and get a win against Morales or whatever. I think as long as the timeline kind of holds, which means Islam fights in like September, I don't think Prates has to go get another win. But if Islam doesn't fight till November, then yeah, Prates, you got to still keep being active. You got to fight at least once every 9 months, and he's going to go have to fight like Morales or something. But as for now, I think Islam versus Gary, the winner of that fight should be fighting Carlos Prates for the belt next. Coming up next, middleweight division. I know this one's going to surprise a lot of you guys. I actually have Sean Strickland versus Brendan Allen. I think that we actually saw the number one contenders fight last weekend, which I know is kind of crazy to say. I know a win against Edmund Shabazian isn't necessarily what you want to be seeing at your title picture, but in my opinion, I don't know why we want to reward guys in the UFC who are just criminally inactive. Amavov taking 9 months off, or 10 months off at this point. His last fight was in September. DDP fought in August, took 0 actual damage in this fight. At least that's what he'll tell you. I'm ready to reward a guy who actually is fighting, and that's Brendan Allen. You already have the beef built in. You have Brendan Allen who can't decide which country he's going to support. So I don't know which country Brendan Allen shows up for when he's fighting, but we'll see. And I think you got a better beef there. Obviously, I mean, you can do DDP versus Sean 3, but it looks like DDP's fighting Usman. Um, and I don't know if I want to see DDP getting that real crack at the belt anytime soon. I think he's been really inactive lately. His Hamzat loss isn't looking any better now. So I think it's time to. I don't know, man. I just think that this is the fight to make. I'm actually on the Brendan Allen getting a title shot train, which I can't really believe I am, but I think you got to reward it activity, man, and that's what Brendan Allen's doing. So I think that you do this in like November. Coming up next, well, this is the number one contenders fight for that fight. If Hamzat wants to stay at 185, I think this works. I think you should do the fight. That was kind of boring. You can make this like the co-main of an Abu Dhabi fight, which I think makes sense. Hamzat versus Amavov does technically, I think, make sense as a number one contenders fight. I don't know what you do with Hamzat. I absolutely don't think he deserves a fight against Sean Strickland for a rematch. I think that's ridiculous in my opinion. You never defended your belt once. You didn't submit DDP in 25 minutes to get your belt. I mean, I other than him looking amazing in his other performances, I just don't think he deserved an immediate rematch at Sean. You gotta defend your belt, man. You got to if you're gonna be I deserve an immediate crack back at my belt. And after the beef got squashed, he's got to get a win and he's got to go beat Amavov. And like I would have said, Amavov versus Sean is obviously the fight to make. The only problem is, like I said, Amavov is criminally inactive. Okay, you beat Izzy, okay, and then you take 7 months off, you take 7 months off, which isn't fine. That's a fine turnaround. And then you fight in September, and you get skipped against the Hamzat fight. So first off, he gets skipped, right? He knows he's not going to fight in May, okay, and this is in like February timeframe. He knows he's getting skipped for Sean. So that probably means, hey, you should go buff up your resume and get another fight. You should go get that fight book against DDP. You should go get a fight booked against Pfeiffer. So I think he's got to fight again. He's got to buff up his resume. Clearly a proof that his resume wasn't good enough to get past Sean. So I think Amavov versus Chimaev is the fight to make. Or you can do Amavov versus Pfeiffer as the number one contenders fight. But yeah, going on to light heavyweight, it looks like they already decided this for us. It's Ankalaev versus Roundtree, unless there's an interim belt that takes place. They might be setting this up for the winner of Ankalaev versus Roundtree immediately faces Hamzat for the vacant belt or the interim belt, which is interesting. I don't know what I think about that, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Roundtree deserves it. Roundtree's coming off a back-to-back brutal slime out streak, so let's give him a number one contender fight. Why not? I think that Roundtree should get a win. Like I want to see Roundtree. I might pick Roundtree in this fight, to be honest with you, but I want to see Roundtree in a fight where it's like he's like, let's see him fight against the number, I don't know, 10, 11 guy let's see him fight against freaking Dustin Jacoby. Okay, let's see him fighting off a guy who's an up and comer, and like I know he got the Jamal Hill win, but I don't know. I got to see a little more out of the guy. I want to see him get another win like a Jamal Hill win, okay, before we start talking number one contenders fights for him again, okay? But yeah, so Ankalaev versus Roundtree, yeah, they're gonna fight the win. They're gonna fight Carl Solberg. And also heavyweight has also been decided too. You got Gane versus Pereira facing Tom Aspinall. That one's kind of obvious, unless Aspinall refuses to fight, which it's looking more and more likely like he will, which is really annoying. But it is what it is. I think Gane actually is gonna win the fight, but you can listen to my full White House card predictions next time. So see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.